All right, in this video, we're going to go over your parametrics quiz review. All right, so number one, it says select the correct graph which matches the following parametric equation. Well, for this one, the easiest way to do it is to just make a simple TXY chart. Select a couple values for t and figure out their corresponding x values. If you plug in a 0 for t in the x equation, you're going to get 4. In the y equation, you're going to get 1. If you plug in a 1, you're going to get a 1 in the x equation and a 3 in the y equation. So now, let's go figure out which graph has these 2 points. Well, this 4, 1 is right here. This graph doesn't have it. 4, 1 is right here. This graph doesn't have it. 4, 1 is right here. All right, that one has it. Let's verify this one. 4, 1, nope. So we know it can't be D. Now 1, 3, 1, up 3. Yep, this has 1, 3 as well. So the answer has to be C. All right, the answer has to be C. All right, number 2, eliminate the parameter and be sure to restrict your domain. I'm actually going to show you 2 ways to do this problem. The first way is solving for t, and then the second way is using a system of equations, and then I'll finish it by restricting the domain. All right, so we take the x equation, and let's go ahead and solve it for t. So we're going to subtract 2. So we're going to have x minus 2 equals negative 4t. Divide by negative 4. So t equals negative x minus 2 over 4. So now we're going to take that and plug it into the y equation for t. All right, so just like that. These negatives will cancel to positives, and you just distribute the 3 through. So we're going to get y equals 3x minus 6 over 4 plus 5. And then, of course, we can split this up into 2 separate fractions. Y equals 3/4 x minus 6 over 4. We reduce down to 3 over 2. And then, of course, plus 5. Well, we have to make that into a fraction with a common denominator of 2. So the 5 is going to become 10 halves. So our equation here, eliminating the parameter, is going to be y equals 3/4 x, and then you have negative 3 halves plus 10 halves is a positive 7 halves. So that's one way you could do it, okay, by solving for t, picking the easiest equation, solving for t, substituting that value for t into the other equation, and just simplifying it down. Now, the other way you can do it is to use a system of equations. So we have x equals negative 4t plus 2, and we have y equals negative 3t plus 5. Well, remember, to solve a system of equations, you want to have one of your variables. In this case, we want it to be t. You want one of your variables to have the same number, just opposite signs. So for t here, we have 4 and 3. So let's make the variable in front of t 12 and negative 12. So we're going to accomplish that by multiplying the top by negative 3 and the bottom by positive 4. If we do that, we're going to get negative 3x equals 12t minus 6. And then we're going to get 4y equals negative 12 plus 20. Okay? Now you just simply solve this as a system. This becomes 4y minus 3x, and then equals, the 12 t's cancel, and then 20 minus 6 is 14. All right, so this is the other equation you can have for number 2. Both of these are the same equation. If you solve this for y, you're going to get the exact same thing that is here. All right, so this is just 2 ways to solve one problem. Pick whichever way you think is easiest for you. All right, now we have to restrict the domain. Well, that's easy because all you do is you look at what x equals when t equals 0, and then how does it change when it goes to t equals 1. So you go back to your original equation, plug in 0 for t, and you're going to get 2. You plug in a 1, you're going to get a -2. When you go from t equals 0 to t equals 1, you're getting smaller, which means x is going to be less than or equal to, and remember, it is always the number that you get for x when you evaluate the equation at t equals 0. Right, so in this case, whichever equation you got, whether you got y equals 3/4 x plus 7/2, or whether you solved it down and got 4y minus 3x equals 14, your domain restriction for both of them should be x is less than or equal to 2. All right, less than or equal to 2. All right, so that's how you do number 2. Moving on to number 3. Number 3 is a little easier than 2. It doesn't take as long to do. So I'm going to take the x equals t over 8 and solve it for t by multiplying both sides by 8. So t equals 8x. Now I'm going to sub it in for t in the y equation. So this equals 2 times 64x squared. So y is going to equal 128x squared. That is your equation for number 3, I'm sorry. 128x squared. Now we got to restrict the domain. So we got to figure out what x is at t equals 0. Well, if you put in a 0, you get 0 because you get 0 divided by 8. For t equals 1, you put it in, you get x equals 1/8. So since it gets larger, when you go from t equals 0 to t equals 1, that means x is going to be greater than or equal to whatever x value you get when you evaluate at t equals 0. So both of these are your answer. Remember, you have to have, for 2 and 3, you're going to have an equation. All right, you're going to have some kind of equation, and you're going to have a domain restriction. If you don't have both, you're not going to get full credit for your answers. So you have to have your equation, you have to have your domain restriction. All right, let's go to number 4. Parameterize the following rectangular equation using the parameter t equals x plus 2. Well, step 1, you got to solve this for x. So we have t equals x plus 2, subtract 2, subtract 2. So x equals t minus 2. Now, not only did we solve for x, we also found our first equation. This is our first parametric. This is the first equation in our parametric equation. Now we have to substitute in the t minus 2 for the x here. So y equals t minus 2 plus 3. Well, -2 plus 3 is a plus 1. So y equals t plus 1. And that is the full answer for number 4. You have x equals t minus 2, and you have y equals t plus 1. All right, now let's do number 5. Again, take your parameter and solve it for x or y, whichever variable is present. So plus 2, plus 2. So our first equation is x equals t plus 2. Substitute that in for the y. So we're going to have y equals -4 times t plus 2 minus 5. So that's going to be y equals -4t minus 8 minus 5. So we're going to have y equals -4t minus 13. All right, and that is your answer to number 5. X equals t plus 2, and y equals -4t minus 13. All right, so for numbers 4 and 5, you have to take your parameter that you're given and solve it for either x or y, whichever one is there. In this case, it's both x. So we solved them for x, substituted what we got for x into the second equation, simplified it down, and that's how we got our 2 different equations. All right, so that's been your Chapter 10 Parametrics quiz review. Feel free to watch this video as many times as you need to. Make sure when you come to class tomorrow, you are ready to take the exam. See you tomorrow.